The first book I really can see now if I shut my eyes was an extraordinary book called Fox's Book of Martyrs, and it must be a 17th century book. It belonged to my grandfather, but it was left to my uncle, and it was lodged in our house, and it contained the most hair-raising engravings of people having their guts pulled out and being burnt alive, one thing and another. And in its time, it was a very famous book. And no doubt it was a very valuable book. But I was absolutely fixated by these images of terrible things happening to human beings, and human beings doing terrible things to other human beings. So Fox's Book of Martyrs is the first book which I can remember pages of if I just shut my eyes.
Because my grandfather passed away and I got a bunch of his old books, and one of them was a copy of War and Peace, which I haven't read because it's quite intimidating, but I remember the spine of it on his bottom bookshelf from being sort of 2 feet tall and staggering around. I remember that spine of the book and not knowing what it was.
But the one that really had an impression on me was the Beatrix Potter book, the Tale of Samuel Whiskers, which I think it's partly because of the frightening nature of it. Also her beautiful drawings, and that was my first exposure to being read to as well, but also to her drawings and how beautiful she made the stories.
At school, the book that really touched me, I think, was Cry, the Beloved Country, which was about South Africa, and it did literally make me cry, and being a sort of typical lad then, out playing football and comics and stuff, to get me emotionally was quite a thing, and it really affected me.
I remember it was a Christmas gift. It was Kenneth Wolstenholme. I think he was a BBC commentator, and he had written an annual about the 1970 World Cup. It really built up heroes in my mind, like the Bobby Charltons, the Pelés. All these players made an impression on my mind.
Thinking about my earliest memory of a book, it was probably reading The Very Hungry Caterpillar, which is still a firm favourite. I mean, it's basically telling you to eat a lot and then you'll become a beautiful butterfly. It's a great message. I really remember turning the pages and the caterpillar appearing on each page, and there was something quite magical about it.
I don't have a personal memory of a book, but I do have a photograph of myself aged about 18 months with a book. I think it was probably a rag book or something fairly sort of baby-proof, toddler-proof. But I know I learnt to read extremely young, and I don't think that was at all rare. I think for people of my generation, because there was no television, I think we all learnt to read extremely young.